Oh, happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to my show where it really is okay to not be okay. I'm Rae Bonney, a qualified counsellor, workplace mental health specialist, not to mention a very dedicated and oftentimes enthusiastically disruptive men's issues advocate. Not to mention, it's not every girl's dream job, is it? But hey, remember, men also matter. I'm unwrapping one of the greatest gifts going around, and that is people. Layer by layer, we explore the thoughts, experiences, achievements and challenges of ordinary people, bound to inspire the best you, at the same time acknowledging that it really is okay to not be okay. Now, back in 2015, 2 men died, one to prostate cancer and another to suicide. Patrick and Nathan were both in their early 40s, not famous nor particularly well known by superstar standards, but they were very well loved and adored by their mates. Part of the grief and loss journey experienced by this group of caring and considerate men, Travis Strong, Scott Eccleston, Stuart Johnson, Michael Fung, Jeremy Cruz, Mark Delaney and Glenn Hall established a not-for-profit initiative to honour their legacy, to raise awareness of men's health issues and raise funds to go towards assisting Australian prostate cancer research and Black Dog Institute with their respective research, treatment and support programs for men's health issues. Today I'm welcoming back for the second time at the studios of 3WBC, one of the White Owl founders, Travis Strong. Welcome, Travis.
Thank you, Rae. Thanks for having me back. The ratings must have been good enough to get a second go.
They actually blew the roof off.
Great. I thought it was more to do with you, though, Rae.
No, do you know what, though? I think that men's issues is one of those really underground bubbling topics that we're all thinking about but not talking about so often. And I find that when as you know, I'm a massive men's issues advocate, that when I bring these things to the fore, that people just come out of the woodwork and want to talk about it. And that's women and men.
It's definitely resonating. I think just in the short time that we've been doing White Owl, the amount of conversations, the conversations that came out of the last time I was on the show through the podcast. I mean, I think you were saying there was people listening to us in America, and so the reach was far, and that's great that the conversation's reaching that breadth.
Well, mental health doesn't discriminate, and especially it's not a gender thing either. But I think what we're going to talk about today is how different it is for men, and that how we approach men's health issues probably isn't doing the work that it should. So that's what Whitehead is all about, really, is finding better ways and better pathways to help men and people understand what it feels like being a man.
Absolutely, and I think it's part of the maturity too of White Owl. We're in our 3rd year, and we obviously started off as an awareness and a legacy for the 2 guys you mentioned, Patrick and Nathan. But now it's what do we do next with White Owl? Where do we get the maximum impact to be able to be making real change in the men's health discussion? So yeah, it's exciting times.
Well, exactly. And you said 3 years in, and you guys have made a massive imprint, because I know that you're recognised as a brand, which is why I've jumped aboard as being one of the committee members and very proud committee members of White Owl. But it's not just about raising money, is it?
No, and I mean that's a nice byproduct, and I think what APC and BDI do in the support and the preventative treatments in the prostate cancer and the mental health area is fantastic. But the conversation, I mean, with our socials now, we've
when you're saying socials, as in media?
Yeah, social media, so Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're reaching a far broader audience now, and it's not just promoting what White Owl does now, but we're sending out a lot more messaging around statistics and support networks that are available to men that might be struggling, to females who have a significant man in their lives that can also start being pointed in the right direction about where they can help. So it's certainly taken on a bit of a life of its own, but it's been really pleasing to get the feedback, and it has largely been positive, which is great.
Now, Mark Delaney, who's one of our very prominent committee members, here at White Owl, he sent me a whole list of questions that we could tackle today in this 1 hour show. But straight away, I'm like running rampant on this track of where you're going. So Mark, like I will cover your questions and thank you very much. But, you know, talking about men's issues, it breaks my heart every day that, like, I'm a woman, clearly, in my men's shirt here.
We need a visual. We've got a Rae sporting her White Owl polo shirt.
With my prominent, yes. But being a woman, like, we from birth almost are trained to look after ourselves, to look after our uterus, to look after our breasts, to look after every part of our body. And it's not a discriminant issue at all. But when it comes to boys, and I said this on a stage the other day, and I don't mind saying it now, is that men's issues seems to start at having your foreskin ripped from your body, and that's as close as men's issues get in terms of health, and that's genital mutilation. It astounds me that after that, men never talk about their health issues.
I think it's changing though, Rae. I mean, I think a lot more men, if you get the more you talk about it, the more aware that they are that they need to be going and getting themselves checked out. I mean, I must say probably...
But checked out for what?
I would just... anything really. I mean, if you go and get a full health check at your doctor, I mean, I go and get one every year for my GP, okay? And he gives me the once over. You know, he talks about my mental health. You know, we take bloods, we do a prostate examination. You know, all of that. You know, usually around my birthday, so it's front of mind that my birthday's coming up. I'm getting a year older. I'm not fallible. I need to go and get myself checked out. But I mean, a lot of that's been on the back of seeing some friends or relatives, or you know, we spoke a bit about my father last time about making sure that if there's a history in your family that you are proactive. But men need a push. I can't explain why. I've always been a man, so I don't know.
Well, you look like you've always been a man. But how do, like, you know, men know that it's okay to go to your GP and say, I want a once over? Like, they take their car for a service.
Look, a lot of my mates do it. So, but I think it's, you know, there's a bit of fellowship there. I mean, I think if men are pushing their mates along to do it as well, or openly talking about the fact that they got it done themselves, you know, it might just trigger the something within them. You know, and a lot of, especially when you become a father too, I think it changes your perspective. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I probably didn't care as much about my health as I do now. But, you know, I've got a family now, and, you know, I want to be around to see my daughter grow up. So I think if you can pray a little bit on men and saying, you know, you're a father now, it's not just about you anymore. You know, you've got others that you need to look after too.
So then how do you protect that biology of men in those adolescent years where, you know, biologically testosterone kicks in and you're infallible?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think parents got a huge role to play, don't they, in making sure that they're getting, you know, their kids looked after. And I think part of it too, I mean, and it's changing a lot. I mean, one of the programs that we're sponsoring this year with BDI is around getting
BDI
more,
being
Black Dog Institute, sorry,
yeah.
Is getting more counsellors into high schools and getting kids, you know, adolescents feeling more comfortable about mental health, about talking about it, about acknowledging that it's that it is an illness and that there are support networks available to them. So that's really proud of the work.
Sorry, when you say it is an illness, what are you talking about?
Oh, well, at this stage, you know, if you've got kids that are suffering from anxiety or depression, it sometimes it might just be stress related, but sometimes it could be
exactly
an illness,
like, are they really suffering, or are they just going through the normal machinations of life?
Exactly.
And I'm sorry to challenge you there a little bit, but, you know, we see then, you know, the social narrative or the media narrative that everyone's suffering and it's all about anxiety and depression. But is this just normal machinations where children, adults and seniors should be able to manage through these periods of discomfort?
Perhaps. And look, for most part, it is just normal machinations, but for others, it is more serious. And, you know, for every person that's diagnosed with a mental illness, I mean, there's a hell of a lot that don't.
Yes.
And, you know, they're the ones that need the support. And the more we can get people acknowledging that they may have an issue and get themselves checked out, great. I mean, if you get one person who's gets the support that they need, that they hadn't been getting previously, and puts them on the right track, well, then that's a big step forward.
Oh, exactly. And I think that you're right in that if you can schedule in that moment, once or twice a year to go and have that checkup to say, what does it feel like being me today? Like, it's that simple.
Absolutely.
What does it feel like? Because we don't know. Like, I know I've recently scheduled into my GP as well, and I think, I've got this itchy bit on my back and I've got a bit of a toenail lifting, or I've got, whatever it might be. But you can talk if you find a great GP.
And I've got a great relationship with my GP. I mean, I've probably been seeing him for probably 10 plus years now. So I feel really comfortable talking to him about my physical and mental health, and that's reciprocated. So I don't find going and getting a health check daunting at all. In actual fact, I find it quite relieving when it comes back and said, you're all okay, because that's peace of mind that you are okay. But eventually something might happen, but at least I'll get onto it early.
At least you're on top of it. But that's part of the work. Like, going back to the White Owl not-for-profit organisation that we're part of, and I'm so grateful to be part of it and be part of the committee and raising awareness around men's issues.
Yeah, it's great having you on board, Rae. I mean, we've gone from that initial 7 and now we're up to 11.
We've got 3 girls as well.
We have,
We've got 3
Jo
girls.
Duckworth and Kate Hatton as well, which is great. So,
and I think they're listening in right now.
Potentially.
Middle
of the day. They'll definitely listen to the podcast, right? So.
Yes, well, we will produce that podcast. But also our beneficiaries, who are we supporting this year?
So with Australian Prostate Centre, who has been a charity partner for the last 3 years, so this year we're supporting an initiative of theirs, which is a regional bus, which is going out into regional areas, which are often neglected and they're going out to, they've kitted out a Ventura bus, one of the blue buses that will go back into service when it's not being used on weekends, but going out and promoting men's health awareness into the rural areas, getting men checked out, just sending that positive message to regional areas.
So when you talk about a bus and men getting checked out, straight away I get this like visual of men bending over and having something shoved up their rear end.
There are curtains, Rae.
But it's a blood test these days.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's either or.
Oh, okay. You can have both.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So can you describe a bit about that?
The either or.
Well, what it's like, because people that are listening in now, men.
Prostate check.
Yes.
Oh well, there's nothing to it. I mean, the blood test is literally over and done with in 20 seconds, and if you have the.
But when you said you can have either or.
Well, I've had the digital examination, and it literally is over and done with in literally 5 seconds. And yes, it's slightly uncomfortable, but for the small amount of time that it is, to make sure that everything's in good working order there, you don't want to, we don't want people going undiagnosed, because prostate cancer is one of the most treatable forms of cancer if it's detected early.
But it also affects people from teenage years as well. And I was talking to my son George the other day, and I said, "Do you check your gear, man?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you check your boobs and stuff like that." And he said, "Oh, how do you do it?" And I said, "Well, just get a bit of soap and, you'll know if something's different." And that's the time. And again, this does not discriminate with age. No. It's not about old men. It's about any men.
And I think, you look at, Movember's just run a campaign recently about check your tackle. So it's, and they've got these soaps shaped
the balls.
Yeah. So so that's great in breaking down those those stereotypes and getting people feeling a lot more comfortable about checking themselves out, for sure.
Well, also with White Owl, you've just mentioned 3 years in. I think first year was about 20 grand. Next year was about 40. This year we're looking at about 120 maybe. My daughter...
We'll get to 100 first.
my daughter independently, Rose, her name is Rose, $250 from Frankel Partners.
That is great to hear.
Got behind White Owl, and so I'm pretty proud of that. But who else is helping?
We've got... so corporate partnerships are really important, and I think it's great to have the corporates on board, and I've been fortunate enough to speak at a few corporate events over the last couple of months.
You have. You love
I'm on
getting
the corporate
out.
speaking
You
circuit,
love getting out there. You do.
So, but I think what's really good about getting the corporates on board is that there's a strong acknowledgement now from corporates that they need to create a workplace that's healthy from a physical, mental and social perspective. And it's not just because it increases productivity, but it's also because it's just the right thing to do. You need to look after the well-being of your team members.
Yeah, if I could bang on about creating environments that support how people are feeling, that would be the end of it. You know, I was speaking to somebody the other day about OH&S and WHS, whatever it might be, and how many instigations we've achieved over the years. However, workplace fatalities have plateaued. So what does that mean? Like, we're putting all of this effort and money into workplace, what's the word?
Well-being.
Yes, but nothing's happening. So where's the barrier?
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. I went and spoke at a function last week. It was a morning tea function. It was a joint venture office. So it was basically the coming together of 5 or 6 representatives from 5 or 6 different companies, cultures and backgrounds, and putting them into a really high stress, delivery environment for a huge infrastructure project in Melbourne.
Yep.
And I said to the people at the morning tea, like, this is really don't underestimate how challenging this environment is, because not only are you changing the workplace culture, but you're working to very hard deadlines, and that inherently is a stressful environment to be in. So I guess the message from me to them was that you need to make sure you're okay, but you need to be looking out for your colleagues as well. And if you could see someone under pressure, go and have a coffee with them, get them talking, go for a walk around the block. Break the nexus. Like, I think.
Well, if you think 95% of workplace fatalities and injuries are men, what's that about?
That is a very alarming stat that I hadn't heard of before, Ray. So yeah.
Before now?
No, I hadn't heard that. No.
Oh, absolutely. And one I bang on about is that of every minute of every day, another man kills himself, and while that's happening, another 20 are trying. So what is that about, and why aren't we doing something about that? Well, we are with White Owl, but why is this not an issue?
Look, I can't. I mean, I'm not in a position where I'm lobbying governments for funding, but what we are doing is trying to, I guess, increase the awareness. Now, hopefully, the funding will come. I mean, if I look at our charity partners at the moment, I mean, they get very little government funding,
there's no funding.
Yeah,
there's no funding, but even when you're talking about even awareness, like you're gobsmacked now, and I work with the Australian Men's Health Forum around their people that do lobby for men's health, and we've aligned ourselves with them through White Owl as well, especially during Men's Health Week, to talk about some of the issues that affect men and that are different to women's issues. Not about being opposed to women's issues, but just being different. And, these alarming stats affect families. Men that leave families through death is terrible.
Absolutely. Look, and you touched on Men's Health Week before. I mean, how good is it to get a week dedicated to men's health? It's probably not getting a huge amount of coverage, but we've enrolled as White Owl. We've enrolled in them, and I was really impressed going onto their website how many events are actually being set up. Like, there was basically 5 pages of events around Australia, really promoting the men's health message. They sent out a lot of information to the White Owl group that we can, table at our major fundraiser coming up.
Yep.
So I think that's all part of. It's a process, isn't it? I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen more through evolution rather than revolution. But that's what White Owl's here. I mean, we're here for the long haul. So.
But why don't men matter as well? I mean, this is an egalitarian thing. It's not a gender thing. I just, as a woman, you're raised to be so self-aware, and, I was even driving down the freeway the other day, and there was a big billboard in front of me, which is taxpayers' money that we spend a lot of money on, and it was about men, look after your women and children, stop being violent. I was going to say the F word then, but it goes both ways.
You're always very good at seeing both sides of the argument.
Oh, you know, it just made me so upset to think that, you know, men who were also victims of violence, victims of abuse, victims of just being neglected. You know, I was one of those women as well. Like, as I was growing up, that I was terrible to men. And, you know, I every day say sorry to all of those men, who most of them are still my friends, but, you know, recognise that men also matter.
Yeah, and I think, look, it is changing. I can feel it changing. I mean, I don't know if you can, Ray. I mean, you obviously, I know you're very passionate about it, and you spend a lot more time in this arena than I do. But yeah, I think it is about just making sure that that there's a focus to it, and that we are highlighting the issues that are out there.
But also recognising that, look, I don't know, I don't have an answer to this, but the next piece that I'm going to talk about is a dedication and a tribute to a friend of mine who recently died. Only 2 weeks ago, Richard died from a massive heart attack, so unexpectedly. And this is a school friend from back in the 70s and 80s, and it was only 2 weeks ago that we lost this man. He was the childhood sweetheart to my very good school friend Tina, and a ridiculously caring father of Christy and Courtney. His name's Richard Whitehead, but I know him as Beno. I don't even know why his name's Beno. It could have something to do with the cricket, I think. But way back then, Tina and Beno created an amazing life of humble privilege, raising their 2 girls who are testament to the values that Tina and Richard shared. And Beno's sudden death rocked our community and brought so many people together just this week, recognising that life is so precious, and also how wonderful the human spirit is in kindness and care and compassion. And Richie was a dedicated biker, and was literally riding his bike into his own sunset when he died. And one of his favourite songs, which we heard at the funeral this week, I'm going to play Rae Bonney and Travis Strong. He's the co-founder of White Owl for Men's Health Awareness, and we're a not-for-profit initiative which aims to help more men be aware and proactive in maintaining their physical and mental health. Welcome back, Travis.
Thank you.
We went off there a bit, and that was in tribute to Richard Whitehead, recently passed, but not forgotten. Great song. And when that was played at the funeral the other day, there are a lot of tissues.
I could imagine
getting up for that.
I obviously didn't know Richard, but I've spoken to you a couple of times over the last few weeks, Ray, and he's clearly very fond of him and clearly a great man. So, well,
do you know what? I didn't really know Richard that much from childhood. More Tina, his wife, who was my friend, and I think just thinking about somebody dying at your own age, and now we're in that sort of like zone. Somebody said to me the other day, it's like now they're taking sheep from our paddock.
And look, and that's exactly how White Owl was born, because the 2 guys that passed away were in their early 40s, and we had exactly the same reaction. Wow, like that these guys have been taken in their prime, and it was shocking for us. I mean, and quite confronting. It took us a long time to even sort of process that had happened.
Is possible.
Yeah.
So how do we, as White Owl, and one of the questions that Mark Delaney sent through is what is the purpose of White Owl, and what are we heading for, and how are we really making change? We've talked about prostate cancer, we've talked about suicide prevention, but clearly, for Richard, who died of a massive heart attack, who was pretty healthy and fit, didn't drink, didn't smoke, none of those things. So what do men look out for?
Well, I think there's a couple of things to that, in my opinion. I mean, one is obviously the things that you can prevent. So, trying to lead a healthy lifestyle, and then getting yourself checked out to see that you're not going to capture everything, are you? I mean, let's face it. There are people that are going to pass away, before their time through no fault of their own. But I think one of the lessons that you learn when you do lose someone close at a young age is how important life is, and to really get around people that make you feel good about yourself. And to really spend quality time with them and savour it. Don't sit there with the what ifs.
Do you know what? I absolutely concur with what you're just saying, because I am a very self-disclosed person who lives with anxiety and depression. And during the weekend, on Thursday, I ordered a mini skip, and I told you about this last night. Anyway, I ordered a 2-metre mini skip, and I started filling it at about 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, and at 12 o'clock on Saturday, my daughter's boyfriend arrived to say, "What are you doing?" And then he spent until probably 9 o'clock that night helping me find ways that we could fill that mini skip, which turned into painting, which turned into reorganising my entire house. And then my daughter got involved as well. And for me, that was just such a fulfilling time where I didn't think about anything negative, and I was just totally engrossed in life. And so they're one of the things that you're talking about, is being connected and feeling important. And Jazz is nodding his head here. I can see him.
It's so true. I mean, I speak to quite a few of the guys who knew.
Was that a really long-winded?
No. I mean, but that's great. I mean, that's from little things, big things grow, isn't it? I mean, you've had what was started out as a 2-metre mini skip turned into a great bonding experience with your daughter and her boyfriend. So,
yeah.
But I mean, I often talk to the guys that some mates that know Patrick, and quite often we catch ourselves in a thought process saying, what would Patrick do now? Because he was such a great motivator and such a great friend, and had always had such great advice. I often find myself going, what would Patrick do in this situation? And we catch ourselves and we talk about it. It's quite cool. So there's always a connection there, and it's nice.
Tell us a bit more about Patrick then.
Well, Patrick. Well, we went to. I mean, Jared's here in the studio. I mean, Patrick and I, we go way back. Avid football man, orator, debater. He used to debate. He loved doing that. Very caring. Used to be a prolific runner back in his day. Fiercely smart, very intelligent man, but very caring. He was a lawyer. Loved the law. Loved, I think, because he just liked debating. He loved having a good animated discussion about things. So he was always up for a chat.
So he died.
Prostate cancer, yeah. So December 15. How
do you think that could have been prevented in Patrick?
Look, I don't know. I mean, I haven't gone through the whole clinical journey with him, but Patrick was diagnosed at 38, and that's young. I mean, I think prostate cancer is always, now it was still a bit of a stigma around being an old man's disease, but it's about getting people checking themselves out earlier now. I mean, that's what I do when I go and do a lot of presentations and talk to a lot of corporate events. Don't wait until you're 50. Even if my GP initially was reluctant to do a test when I was in my 30s, even though Patrick had been diagnosed, and I said, mate, if you don't do it, I'll go and get it done somewhere else. I think that's trying to break some of those misnomers about prostate cancer.
But going back to, we were just talking about connection and, how you feel good about yourself. And I know you and I talk a lot on the phone, and you're always, you're very involved with your family and your daughter, and you're playing hangman.
Yes.
Last night, and I encouraged you to win at all costs, which makes you feel good. But, connection, I think, we have a lot of blah blah about social media and how people aren't connected anymore, which is bullshit. I think, I look around, you go out for dinner or you go anywhere and there's people just wanting to be together, like White Owl. It's another organisation where, we catch up every week, sometimes twice a week, in a meeting to talk about how we're going to make change.
Yeah.
And we're not the only people doing that.
No, of course not. I mean,
But why are we doing this?
Well, I think
Because
there's it's purpose
we care.
For a lot of us within White Owl, and I know I speak on behalf of a lot in the community. It is about purpose.
Yeah.
Feeling as though if you're in a fortunate position where you can give a little bit back and you can help others, that's a really strong emotion, and we're all getting great pride out of seeing White Owl grow and the impact it can have. And as you said at the start, it is making an impact. I mean, I've got friends now who I know feel much more comfortable talking about their physical and mental well-being as a result of the work White Owl's doing. And people call me. I'm not a trained counsellor, but I can point them in the right direction. I can guide them.
I am. You can
I know you
put
are.
them to me.
Yeah, I put them on to Rae.
And you do.
I have.
But that's fantastic, and we're a minority group. But one of the questions that Mark Delaney came up with was, what is the future purpose of White Owl? I'm going to put that straight to you because I know what I want to see.
I know. You tell me what you want to see, Rae. Yeah, I think we all acknowledge that when we sat down and started White Owl, this our major event that's coming up in just 19 days' time. It's been a great event, but we want to do more. And I think we're all agreed that we take a breath after this year's event and work out what the next step is. We've got a strategic plan that we need to put together that maps out the next 5 years and beyond, because there's a strong commitment now. And I think when you start out something like White Owl, you've got no idea where it's going to go. It started off very small, and then it's snowballed, and now it's got some momentum.
It actually didn't even start out small. It started out kind of medium.
Yeah, well,
It wasn't
the initial event. I think we got it up and running in 4 months.
Yeah,
and we're overwhelmed by the support, and I think it's maturing from. And it'll always be a legacy for Patrick and Nathan. That's fundamental to what we want to do. That will always be the key foundation of White Owl, and making sure we're doing the right thing by their legacy. But then where's the impact? And it mightn't necessarily always be prostate cancer and mental health. It might be testicular cancer. It might be, who knows?
Well, we're looking at things now, and part of the focus on this show today is to expand some of the men's issues. Like 95% of workplace fatalities are men. Men are less likely to enter into higher education because of social stigma. So then men are most likely going to enter into imprisonment or drug addiction and things like that. So there's just so many issues relating to men who I think with some of the custody laws that we have, which Australian Men's Health Forum are amazing at helping and dads in distress, is boys that are separated from their dads through custody issues are less likely to flourish. Kids need their dads. Parents are great. I think that, some of the work that we're doing and some of the legislation hopefully we're going to change in the future is around that all parents are good.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I think it's great work that you're doing in that space, Rae, and it'll get the results that you deserve. I have no doubt.
Well, it's not what I deserve; it's what the children deserve. Any child growing up should have the basic human right of having access to both parents. And, we all do the best we can. I know that you were I encouraged you to beat your daughter at Hangman last night. We talked about cheating. I cheated at Monopoly for many years in front of my children. But they've prospered. They were painting my fence yesterday, so they're cool.
The school of hard knocks.
Yeah, but any parent that keeps their child from the other parent, I think, think really carefully around how that child will not flourish as well.
So should we talk a little bit about the event coming up?
That was just a massive blank spot there, and I did that purposely because I think it just makes people think and feel about the impact of not being parented by both.
I agree, but I thought it was my cue to speak, so I'm sorry I chimed in there.
No, don't. Because Jazz is like he's gesticulating, because I like that word, that he wants to go outside and film us from the window. Is that right, Jazz?
That's spot on.
Yeah, come and speak. Come and say hello. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
There you go. So you're going to go outside now, are you?
Yes, I am.
All right. So Jazz is going to go.
Social media advisor.
We've got
Technical director, sorry.
We've got 12 minutes left of the show where we're going to talk a little bit more about our event and what that means, because our event's coming up on the 23rd of June. It's at Etihad Stadium. The bit of the tussle between the Western Bulldogs and the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Not probably the most exciting match in the world.
Well, when we came on air last time, it wasn't shaping up to be a high profile game, but it's looking a lot better now. So North Melbourne are up and about. So yeah. But it's not the synergy with football is Patrick and Nathan love their footy. It's not a footy event. It's at the footy. But it is a men's health awareness event. I mean, we've got some great speakers lined up this year.
Well, Wayne Schwass from Pucker Up. He's been doing some great work and got a really fantastic profile around talking about men's issues. And so he's a keynote speaker. Mm-hmm. And then we have also Tiffany Cherry is our MC, and Tiffany's very well known for Fox Sport. And do you know, she even, I'm very good friends with her brother, and she went out and just had a baby all by herself. Yeah. Just decided to have a baby and went out.
She's great. So.
She's amazing. So I'm really looking forward to meeting Tiffany. And then we also have...
We've got Mark Harrison, the CEO of Australian Prostate Centre. So we've got a very strong association and very proud of the work that APC does. So it'd be great to hear from Mark, and he's going to talk a little bit, I guess, about the impact that the funding, the funds that we can raise at White Owl, where that money's been directed, and the impact it can have on people, on men.
Mm. But you've also, like, from your past years, there's some demonstrated examples of where the money's gone. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, so mainly with APC, we've been targeting equipment in the past, but this year, obviously, the buses.
Tell us about the equipment, though.
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot there.
There was a bed.
There was a rower, a lot of for the physiologists down there, so men that are going through prostate cancer, it's really good for them to keep active. So I think there was a rower. There was a couple of machines in there, which I'm not off the top of my head.
I think there was a lifting bed.
Yeah, yes. That was the high-low bed.
Yeah, which White Owl directly contributed to purchasing these items, which, even if one man makes his life more comfortable, that's something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's great when APC get us back in after each event and say, here's the fruits of your labour. This is what we've been able to achieve, and just talking to the staff within the centre, the joy and how much easier it makes their work as well, and clearly the impact on their patients too is significant. So it's great.
Oh, just, I think pride and dignity are two of the most prevalent things that I think about when I'm working with people, is preservation of those things. So I think some of the work that White Owl does goes to preserving those things. So yeah. But
I think so the event is it's only 19 days away. So
how can people, like, I know people can either come to the event, which isn't that expensive. It's $150. You get in, you get the game, you get food, you get speakers, you get drinks, and also access to
you've got the silent auctions. You've got a big raffle, got about $5,000 in the and you get a reserved seat.
Yep.
So if you want to watch the football, great. But if not, usually a lot of people just stay in the room and connect. They go along with a group of friends.
Fantastic networking with high profile people.
Yep.
Like there's, I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. And how can people connect?
Well, I think the best thing to do is just to get on whiteowl.org.au. and everything's on there. So you can you can buy your tickets on there. If you can't make the event but would like to donate, there's a donations page there. It's got various options.
What is the donate now? Like the
Give Easy.
Yeah.
We've got it's all through the website. You can just click on the
1-300 number.
Yeah, you can do that too, but it's all on the website. And then, or you can follow our social media. You can click on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, and you can follow us there and get updates on what we're up to.
Honestly, I have put so much stuff on social media. If you just type in White Owl 4, you will get every bit of our stuff.
Yeah, and it's good, and we're seeing a lot more sharing. Oricon, the company I work for, is obviously a gold partner again this year, which is great, and they've run quite a detailed.
Tell us a bit about Oricon, because they are a gold sponsor.
Yeah, so Oricon. I've been working there for 15 years now, so it's sort of my second home. But they're very passionate about.
What do they do?
Well, it's a professional services engineering firm, so it employs about 8,000 people. It's a global
over
company.
Australia.
Oh, in Australia, probably about half that in Australia.
And then South Africa.
Africa, Middle East, Asia.
Yeah.
But they're walking the talk. They invest a lot of money in mental health programs, training of line managers, mental health first aiders. Like there's over 100 now across Australia and New Zealand, which just really enables options for team members to be able to.
And you're predominantly male dominated.
We are. You probably it'd be well over 60%. I'd imagine would be male.
Male, yeah. And I know my friend Lara Elson, if she is listening in at the moment, is in Western Australia with Oricon, and she was with Delaware North for many years, and we used to have Valentine's Day together every year. Not that we're that way inclined, but we used to do that nice thing for each other, and she loves working for Oricon, loves it.
Yeah, like it's a great company, and I think it's great to have. We've got some silver sponsors. Predominantly in the insurance industry where Nathan used to work. We've got Aon, Marsh, XL Catlin, Arch. We've got Smartline on board, Chubb Insurance, and then a whole host of bronze supporters too. So I think that's really good getting the corporates involved, because it ties it back to how important it is for the responsibility that companies have to make sure that their workforce is supported and are okay. It doesn't just stop when they head at home at 5 o'clock. It's or whenever it is. It's an ongoing commitment. So it's going to be a great event. Can't wait.
Well, anyone that's listening in, either come to the go to the website,
whiteowl.org.au.
That
you might find it through that way.
You could. Or please give me feedback, because we love that. And you can find anything about White Owl if you come to me. So go to Presenting Rae Bonney on Facebook. You can also find me at my YouTube channel, which is Rae Bonney, expertly produced by Scott Corman's Talk Hub in New South Wales. He hasn't been very well at the moment, so the shows have been a little bit slow in production, but I spoke to him before and he's feeling a bit better, so he's going to get some up and running. Now, for anyone that has been feeling a little bit unstable during our conversation today, sometimes that happens. Lifeline, you can phone them for free and talk to anyone you like at 131114. Suicide callback service. You don't have to be suicidal, but you just might be feeling like talking to somebody about suicide. That's 1300 659 467. Emergency services, of course, is 000. So, Travis, thank you.
Thanks for having me again, Ray. It's always nice to come in and have a chat.
Now, where's Jazz gone?
Well, he's not in the studio.
He's just disappeared. He must be like the
I
lady.
can see him sitting out there.
I can see the lady outside. He's filming our entire show.
Well, you're very famous, Ray. So it's people come down to watch
I
it.
know.
An open air booth here, so it's always.
I know. What can people expect at our event? Because it's my first event. with White Owl? Like, am I wearing this? Is this?
Yeah, well, I think we've got the official outfit now, but what can people expect? Oh, look, it's a fun night. It's always had good energy the last couple of years. I can't see any reason why this year would be any different, but it's always got good energy, and I think people are all there. There's a nice mix now of people that either knew or knew of Patrick and Nathan, and now there's a whole new swag of people that are coming through and supporting what White Owl's doing. So it's I'm really looking forward to it, and
also my daughter is coming along to support as a volunteer.
Great.
To whip everybody into shape.
Yes.
So watch out for Rose. She's one to be reckoned for. But it is an amazing organisation. I'm so proud to be associated with White Owl, and we came together very unexpectedly.
Yeah. And now we're on radio together and spreading the messages together, which
we
is
could
great.
do this all day, but we can't. You have been listening to Rae Bonney, where it really is okay to not be okay.